Welcome to the Outdoor View. I am Wanda, your host for today, and I have a very special friend here today that I'm excited about introducing to you. She is a huge backbone in my community and has done so much for the people who are a part of it. She just happens to be our county sheriff's wife, Mrs. Janine D'Agostini. We're so happy to have you here today, Janine.
Hi, Wanda. Thank you so much. What an honor to be with you today. And thank you for inviting me.
Yes, we're just so happy to have you. And I know that our viewers out there, a lot of them are going to learn something new. A lot of them may already know about this, and they'll probably learn a lot more because you've just done so much. There's so much that I know you have to talk about, but people, for all of you out there, we are going to be talking about an organization, a nonprofit that Janine started called Thrive. And so Janine, can you start off just telling people a little bit about yourself and how you started that program?
Sure. I'd love to tell you all about it. My husband has been sheriff he's in his 12th year. And when he first started, there was an opportunity for us to really, really do something that we would hope would make a difference for law enforcement and more close to home for me, their families, their wives, their significant others, their partners, and their children. Law enforcement is a really tough career for families, and it definitely takes a toll. Studies have shown that the divorce rate in law enforcement families has been as high as 80%. And it's just, it was just time that the atmosphere was right and the environment and the position. In other words, we had an opportunity and a role in which we could actually do something to affect some change. Mm-hmm. So what we did was I met with a few people, my two advisors and partners, John Rowe and Barbara Thompson, and we began to brainstorm about what some sort of a support organization might look like. Of course, having the blessing of my husband helped an awful lot because it's a big challenge. And if you don't have that support right from the top, it can be even a little bit more daunting to overcome some of those hurdles. Yeah. So we started to meet and we were brainstorming and came up with a few ideas on what we wanted our organization to look like. And so we dove in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know, what I love is the vision that you had and your servant heart. Mm-hmm. And so when you first began this program, you said that there's actually 3 programs that you focus on and help the community and our law enforcement officers. Can you tell us about that?
Sure.
Programs?
Absolutely. One of the things I want to start with is just to let you and your viewers know, one of the concepts that we had was coming up with a name that was really appropriate and fitting to law enforcement. So I have our little brochure here. It's the first thing that was important was we put my husband's face and title on the brochure because that lets his staff and all the employees know that this is an organization that he supports 100%, which gave us the necessary buy-in to let people know that they could trust us. And law enforcement is a very protective career. And so we had to sort of earn our way in because a lot of the officers and staff, they want to protect their families and they like to not bring work home. So one of the things we did was when we titled this, it says on here, Thrive with 1035. And what that is it's a 10 code, like 10, 10-8, 10-10, 10-4. That's one commonly known. But 1035 means backup support. And we just wanted to have something that would really identify what we're there for. We're not there to interfere. We don't want to have anything to do with running the agency. We want to support their families. Mm-hmm. So with that, we came up with a few ways to get involved with the families. We attend welcome ceremonies. We started by kicking off our program with a spouses academy. And that was modeled after the Citizens Academy. And many folks in the community know what that entails. but we did one for the families because they weren't often included in such things.
What is a spouses academy exactly? What is that?
So what that is it's modeled after the Citizens Academy. And the sheriff's office puts on these academies to have the public come, and they actually attend it one night a week for, I think it's 2 months. And they come and they learn about all of the different divisions from the, dispatch, coroners, records, investigations, all the different pieces that put together a law enforcement agency. Okay. But many times the spouses had absolutely no idea. So we thought it would be a great way to introduce them to the atmosphere and the environment that their loved ones work in. And so that's how we kicked it off. And we got to know so many of our spouses that way. Some of them had never even set foot inside the agency before. Wow. So it was really a nice way for them to be introduced to that environment.
Wow, that's really interesting. So when you guys did the Spouses Academy, that's when I would imagine a lot of you and other wives got to know each other more?
Absolutely. Many of them didn't even know one another, let alone having not gone into the building or felt like they had a place where they could go in and just see their loved one at work. So then now they have an idea when their partner or their loved one calls them and says, hey, I'm stuck in the report writing room, or I'm over at the morgue, or whatever job they're doing. Now at home, those loved ones can envision where their loved one is at. It's not necessarily important for every career to have this kind of access, but for law enforcement and first responders, they give so much of their time and their energy to the community. Their loved ones at home share them every single day, and they put themselves at risk in favor of others on a daily basis. So for our families to be included in their loved ones' work is really important, and it's really helpful.
Well, I know that like for you and for other women, I'm sure the husbands get very protective because they're in a job where their families could become at risk with whatever they're involved in. And so I would imagine that once you guys started this Spouses Academy, I would imagine the support system that you guys have for one another is just off the charts. And I saw you guys all at an event, and I could just tell the closeness and how great you all work together, and the passion that you guys have for serving and supporting the law enforcement. You guys, I'm telling you, for the viewers out there, if you live in my community, we have got it going on, and it's largely because of Miss Janine sitting here with us today, a huge backbone in our community with what she's been doing, and all those other women that have been helping to do this. And so I guess I'm excited for you to explain more about these 3 programs that you guys run to help support the programs.
Yeah. So you mentioned the fundraiser that you attended and the gala that we had. And you're right, we are a very close team, and every single person is so important to that team. And we do love one another. We are all in the same career where we could lose our loved one any day. And that's always something that's on the forefront of spouses and loved ones' minds at home. So what we do is we have these fundraisers, and we raise money so that we can run these programs that we have. And I'll tell you about a couple of the programs. They're really, really important. The first program that we have is our critical incident protocol. And any law enforcement career or first responder, critical incidents are something that happen often, but it just depends on what level of an incident that happens. So our spouses that work in the agency they're used to those critical incidences, but the spouses at home, I found myself often doing messages on Messenger like, hey, they're okay right now. We don't know anything if they're on a SWAT call out or a mission. So what we do is we have a way to communicate with one another through this critical incident protocol, and it's got different levels of incidents. So, one might be if you can't get a hold of your loved one because they're not answering their phone or they're not texting you, they're stuck, hiding behind a building on a call out. They can't. So we can get information from either the sheriff or his PIO or the undersheriff, people that have confidential information that we can securely share with the families that doesn't breach any protocols. And
what does PIO stand for?
I'm sorry. Thank you. Public Information Officer.
Okay. So I'm sorry. So yes. you can probably get information from the sheriff or the Public Information Officer, the PIO.
Right.
Sorry. Okay. Go ahead. I just wanted to make sure everybody.
No, thank you. Sometimes I forget with these acronyms. But it's better to get the information straight from us, because then they're not seeing it on the news or hearing it from the people in the neighborhood that don't really have the facts. And it can be really scary to get wrong information. So we definitely give them that firsthand information. It's all confidential. They're not allowed to tell other people. And of course, we would never do that without the correct permission. One of the really important times we needed this was in 2019, when Deputy Brian Ishmael was shot and killed in the line of duty. We implemented our most critical level and let all of our spouses know to come to the sheriff's office, where we then opened up a command center for the families. And we were able to take care of our families. We were able to help the agency. They were so busy doing things. We helped with collecting the flowers and organizing meals for the many different other outside agencies that were there to help with the investigation, the FBI. There was just a multitude of them, the district attorney's office. So we were able to help without getting in the way so that they could do their job. And, when we started this protocol, we never could have foreseen how important it was for us to be together. And that time frame lasted off and on for no less than 2 weeks. We were also able to take care of the officer's family, his wife and children, and his parents. We made sure that they had meals, because suddenly they had a house full of people. And so there's just a lot of different aspects to that we implemented.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So that was your critical incident protocol that you were just talking about. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's really interesting. And I think you guys are doing a great job, and it's so needed.
It is so needed. And there is not a template for any of this. Well, there is now, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later. The second program that we have, and this is one that we really do raise our funds for, it's called the Wellness Program. And what we did was we interviewed many therapists and counselors in our community and some of the outlying communities as well. And if anybody wants to utilize this program, what they do is they can call. We have a list of phone numbers, and we have a coding system, and it's very, very confidential, and it's a safe program for all of our family members, and the staff at the sheriff's office has access to that. And we've actually helped other agencies as well. But these are vetted therapists and counselors that know about the crisis and the trauma that comes from law enforcement and first responder careers, and what that does to marriages, and also what that does to people's psyche when they're exposed to these type of really grueling situations on an ongoing basis. So all they have to do is call one of the therapists or counselors on our list and give them the code. And we have 2 different codes. We have one for families and one for employees. And once they give them the code, the therapist can get them in right away. And then they bill our accountant and just give them the code, and our accountant pays them directly, and nobody ever gets a name. It's very confidential, and it's very much utilized. People use it and they trust it. So it's a very successful program.
That is so awesome, because, oh my gosh, just the health and wellness of people needing to be able to cope through these things. And so, I mean, for them to know that they have access to something like that, and to be able to go in there and get the help that they need with all the stuff we have going on in the world these days, that's so important. And I think that's just awesome that you guys are doing that. I mean,
Well, and the community helps us because they support us financially. They come to our fundraisers, and that way we can take care of these men and women that are really sacrificing on so many different levels.
mm-hmm, the mental health, it's so important.
It's so important.
That's so great that you guys are addressing that, and that the community is really rallying and supporting you guys. And it's so awesome. I feel so proud to live in our community where these things are happening. You know, it's just, I feel really proud that you guys are doing that.
Well, thank you. We couldn't do it with there's no I in any of this team. This is a huge team effort and community effort, because the community stood behind our agency when we lost our deputy, and we recently lost another one to suicide, which also puts an emphasis on how difficult and taxing these careers are. The third program I was going to tell you about is it's a peer support program for families, and it's actually pretty unprecedented. We just started to design it based on 8 different agencies' peer support programs that they have, and we brought in trainers from an organization called Warriors Rest, and they certified 30 spouses and significant others in how to work with peers and to take calls, and so we have a hotline, and they can call and get through to somebody on our team, one of those 30 team members. And if somebody doesn't happen to answer, it rolls over to a national hotline through what's called the Cortico system. And that's a national program as well. So we've partnered with them. And what's also really special about this peer spouses and family peer support program is it doesn't happen anywhere. Like El Dorado County has launched this program and become sort of the tip of the spear for that nationwide. So we're really proud of that. We have an amazing team and people that have worked really hard to set the procedures for that.
So when you're talking about a peer support program, you're talking about the spouses of the officers and like the family members and friends?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and basically if somebody's in crisis or they're having, marriage situations, they can talk to somebody who's walked in their shoes and understands what it's like. And then also the follow-up to that is having resources that we can send them to. And How to Love Our Cops is a sister organization that I'm a part of, and our team is, and they are nationwide as well. And so we can send them to that connection, and they can talk to people across the country through that other organization also.
Wow, that's wonderful. Another thing that I saw you be heavily involved with, and I'm thinking that perhaps maybe Thrive helped you out with it, was when the fire happened here last year in El Dorado County. So was that something that you guys got involved with as far as an organization as well?
Yes, absolutely. Part of the thought process, at least for me, was when the fire started, it was right in our community. And I was with my husband. We were kind of just driving around checking on people. And I realized that so many people were not wanting to go into town. They weren't wanting to go away from the community where we are now. So we opened up our ranch, and we have a place where we were able to bring all these people. And we had probably over 200 people stay for about 21 days.
Wow.
My confidence was not just with our local family, but with the Thrive family, because I knew that these men and women at the sheriff's office, they are experts in dealing with crisis and situations where they need to go in, and they're problem solvers. So we just knew that we could count on them, and they helped rally the community. They helped organize meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 200 people out on our ranch. And the Thrive team our family could not have done it without all of them. So yes, they get involved whenever they need to. They just jump in. They're here.
It's amazing that you guys have started such a wonderful, meaningful, needed. I mean, for you to just point out, as I'm taking notes here, you've got the program, the critical incident protocol, the wellness program, the peer support program, and then you guys are jumping in with fires and things like that and providing just so much support. And it's like, oh my goodness, had you never had the vision for Thrive, we wouldn't have all that support. It's just amazing. I'm just like, wow, what you guys are doing. It gives me goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps all over right now. I'm just like, it's so cool. But I know too that you wrote a book. Tell me about that. Tell our viewers all about it.
Okay. Well, it was really born out of necessity. When I would travel with my husband, we go to conventions or conferences across the state in California. And sometimes there's, the Western United States. I would talk about Thrive and they'd ask me about it. And there's so much passion behind helping and serving. And I found myself kind of giving people the layout, like, how do we do it? How do we get started? Are you a nonprofit? Do you run under the agency? How do you, just so many different things. So Barbara Thompson and John Rowe, again, my advisors and the partners that we wrote this book together, we just decided let's lay it out there. We've got a template and there wasn't one before. So I have a little flyer and it just kind of goes over, this is what it looks like. And there's a website, it's Thrive Guidebooks.com. And that's where we send people and they can order the book. And basically it lets people know some of the do's and don'ts, some of the things that we did that maybe we were like, well, that was maybe not the best idea. It's not like starting a typical support group because it's more of an organization, but also you have to be careful. Law enforcement is a paramilitary organization. And so we found that we had to be very careful not to tread where we did not belong. These people are professionals. They know exactly what they're doing and they do not need people from the outside interfering. Yeah. So we had to tread lightly and we had to take it slowly to gain their trust and confidence that we respect their jobs and we're not interfering. So that's why we wrote the book. It's a step-by-step guide and it's not necessarily to start one exactly like what we're doing, but gives them an idea of what they could do and what some of the possibilities are.
Wow. So when you guys first started forming the organization Thrive, did you guys run into, I'm just curious, and I'm sure some of the viewers are too, did you run into that type of thing where you had people in law enforcement that would be like, oh my gosh, I don't know about this because we need to do our jobs and they might get in the way? And I mean, did you guys run into stuff like that when things were being built?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of to the point because cops are trained to protect. And they protect their families and a lot of them don't want to bring work home. They don't want to, and they've taken a lot of care to learn how to compartmentalize their jobs so that when they come home, they don't just dump everything on their families. And so there was a little pushback with us because they didn't want us involving their families in what they considered was a lot of times private, in the respect that they don't want to burden their families with that information. It's not pleasant. It's not, it's not like they're saying, oh yeah, we got cookies and donuts brought to us today all the time. Like that does happen, but it's a lot of unpleasantness and they try to protect their families. So they didn't want us bringing that in. So we've had to be very careful not to do that.
So when you guys had this vision, so there was pushback sometimes, and I mean, that's to be expected. They've been highly trained to do things that we would never imagine doing.
Right.
So on the flip side of that, was there times when like it was hard for you to move forward because you thought, oh my goodness, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing, did that happen?
It absolutely did. I mean, and there was times where, you try to get people to we would have team building events. Like we do paint nights, we do luncheons, we do many different types of activities to educate. We bring in guest speakers. But it definitely took some time to build the trust of within the agency. Now they call us if there's anything, somebody has a baby or somebody needs meals, if they're sick. During COVID, we went and got hand sanitizer from the distillery in El Dorado Hills and helped distribute that because officers don't have water and soap in their cars. And there was no hand sanitizer to be found when that whole thing started. So they called on us to help with, and they do now, they call us if whatever's going on, like, hey, can Thrive help? Or we've got a situation, you know, we need to do whatever. And so we actually even fill out an annual report that goes into the Sheriff's Office county report. And we talk about things that we've done over the course of the year and what we've done to support the agency as well as the community.
Wow. You know, it's just so great that you guys have seemed to have found the balance of the pushback and then that thought in your head of, oh my gosh, are we doing the right thing? Because you don't want them to feel as though you're stepping on their toes. And so now you've found the balance, and the greatness of this all is just, it's unreal. It's like, wow, you guys, you did a great job. But it's my understanding also, don't you travel and help other places start organizations like this?
I'm beginning to do that. I've been doing that a little bit for the last year or so. I mostly travel with How to Love Our Cops because they do the national work. And they'll bring me into, I just was in Georgia with them recently, in Indiana at different law enforcement weeks and trainings. And we speak about how to do this because the truth is that it definitely builds into the officers, and it creates, when they know that their families have a support system in place, it gives them just a little bit more emotional availability and freedom to go and do their jobs. They know if anything happens, their families are taken care of. So it builds, it helps with recruitment for agencies. And right now it's a tough time for recruitment, and it helps with retention because their families are engaged and they're built into those relationships in the family, in the agency. And so I do that. I do go speak at different agencies or conferences across the country, just helping them see the value in encouraging their families to start some kind of a support organization.
Oh, that's just great. So, I mean, it's made a huge, you guys have made a huge impact on our community, and it's just, it's so wonderful. So let's tell the viewers how they can get involved. I mean, do you guys have opportunities for the general public to get involved? How can they do that?
Yes, we sure do. So we have a website. It's www.thrivewith1035.org. And we have several different levels. We have the families, the spouses or significant others, and then family members, which would be like parents and siblings of the officers or any employee at the sheriff's office. And we put them in different categories. So that also protects the confidentiality of what messages go to what groups. But we have a community service, a community member category. And so people can sign up as a community member. And when we do a fundraiser, or if something happens and there is another critical incident, we could say, hey, we need meals for 200 people. We need cookies and donuts and love sent to the sheriff's office or the police or any other group. Like if it was whatever the respective need is, we could reach out for that. So, and we also have a donate button on there where people can donate to help fund some of the programs that we have as well.
I had another thought. How was Thrive involved when the pandemic first began? Was there a lot of impact when it first began? Like when, say, for example, in our community, when the, when places were being boarded up and the National Guard came in, was Thrive a help with all of that too?
Well, we certainly tried to be. I think at that time, our main function was to support one another because there was a lot of fear. there was, some civil unrest happening, and you could watch the news and see people blowing smoke in officers' faces or spitting on them, and they were having to stand in barricades. And so our families, you're watching that on the news, and those people are people that you know and love, or people are like your family. So that was a time where our relationships really helped us to focus on supporting one another. We did have our sheriff's office called in the National Guard because there was some activity coming into our county, and we actually we fed them. They stayed and they were housed on the campus of the sheriff's office in one of the training rooms in the back. And we made sure that they had food, snacks, Gatorades, waters. And honestly, when they left, they said it was one of the best places they had ever been. And just they got taken care of so well. Our community brought them meals. And also our community, when they were out staged around the county, they never went without a meal. People brought them hamburgers and hot dogs and tri-tip sandwiches and drinks. And this is just an amazing, amazing place.
Wow. I feel so blessed to be a part of this community. I mean, the people.
Me too.
Yeah, it's amazing. Wow. Well, I just had to ask you that because I started thinking about it and I thought, wait a minute. We've been through some pretty hard times. And I know those were especially hard for law enforcement and their families when all that was going on. It really
was. It was a trying time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know there was law enforcement officers. I know some people myself in other areas that quit their jobs after that.
Oh,
it was so difficult. And
it's still difficult. Absolutely. There's the people that are looking to get into this career, it's really diminished. And I feel like there's a few things being done to sort of help support that. There's a bill right now in DC that I spoke with one of our congressmen about, and I said, I think that if you could do something to encourage people to get into law enforcement right now, maybe something that would help with wellness. And so we brainstormed, and he came up with the idea of like the military, giving them access to national parks for free, and so that they could get out with their families and camp and just be in nature. And so that's it's still happening, but that's one of the movements that they're trying to get for law enforcement and first responders is some incentives to get in the business and stay in the business.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, good for you. I mean, that was such a tough time. And I know it still is. I know. So you said you have the website that people can go to, and basically they sign up as a community person that you guys can contact if things happen.
Yes.
And then way for them to donate and help support Thrive.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's a donate button on the website, but they can also go on there, and I think it says contact us, and they can send a check into either we'll go to our accountant or write to somebody will pick it up at the sheriff's office for us. I think those are the addresses that are listed on that, but there's many different ways to support. And just another way to support is when you see officers, any type of first responder, just lift them in prayer and for their protection, because it is so hard. Firefighters, any emergency personnel, this takes a toll on everybody. And to keep them in prayer, say thank you to them for the job that they're doing, because they are sacrificing their lives every single day to keep our community and our public safe.
Any other things that we could talk about as far as Thrive goes?
Well, I just think that just knowing that behind every badge that people see, there are people behind that and that love them and care for them. So it's not just the one individual that you see. It's their families. Their families sacrifice and share their loved ones on a daily basis. And they do that for a career span of 30 years. So it's a long time. Our first responders have big backpacks full of their career that they carry around with them, and that is cumulative. It can take a toll and an effect on them. So I think just always showing them love, saying thank you to the officers, letting their families know that you appreciate the sacrifices that they make. I think that's really helpful and very, very needed these days.
Okay. And so for other communities and viewers out there that may be watching and going, wow, what they're doing in El Dorado County is so awesome. You know, we need something like that where we're at, wherever the viewer is that's thinking this. You would probably, I would think, recommend that, you know, pick up the book that you guys have written, take a look at that, get some more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so once again, how did they buy the book?
So you can go to thriveguidebooks.com. I have to look at my paper. And there's a lot of information on there, and they can see where they can order the book. It's from Lulu. And just grab that book, and then they have access through that. They can contact myself or John or Barbara. John and Barbara are consultants as well, so they also can go into an agency and help them structure and form what might just build it for specifically for them based on, like, you know, what do you guys already have in place, and they'll analyze their circumstances and see how to help build them into their program. So between the two of them and myself, we're readily available to help them build some kind of a system like that.
I just think it's so wonderful for whoever's watching that they have the opportunity to have a guidebook to do something so wonderful like what has been happening in our community. And so we thank you for that. And
thank you. I believe that to whom much is given, much is expected. And when we've been blessed with such a tremendous opportunity to have an organization like this, and all of our team members are so, I love them so much. And we've become such a close family. And so we're trying to pay it forward and to help others.
Yeah, I love the servant heart. And I would just like to encourage all of you viewers to go on their website, check it out, look at the programs, buy the book, because in my opinion, every community out there should be doing what our community is doing. It's just wonderful, the difference that you guys have made. And so I just thank you, Janine, for being here today with us.
Well, thank you, Wanda. And thank you for what you're doing. You are creating so much awareness and getting the word out in so many different categories that are so important. And you have such a beautiful servant's heart. And just what you're doing is so needed. And so thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you to all our viewers out there for joining us at the Outdoor View, the place where we educate, connect, and learn to protect our outdoor traditions. We'll see you again soon. Bye.